Shall we begin?
Hey there, boys and girls. Bob Kearns, the unsung photographer, and we're back in the backyard again on this fine fall day. And we're going to talk about flashes. We're going to talk about how high-speed sync works a little bit, and we're going to show you times you can use it. We're going to bring out the old neutral density filter and show you how that functions and how we can use that, save a few dollars. So that's the plan anyway. So for right now, let's just have a quick meter reading on Janie over here, right on her cheek. And Janie's metering at a 18.1, so that's an F18. Oh, while I'm doing this, welcome to folks that joined the channel. I got a lot of folks popped in over the last month or so. And I'm glad to see that you have some interest in what we're doing here. Thanks a lot. So, let's have a quick look in here. Let's focus. And we'll just take a quick shot. And we'll flow that up on the screen. Up on the screen. There you go. And if you look at this sucker a little bit, you can see Janie's exposed beautiful. All the stuff around her is kind of dark. I've got a really nice sky in this, but my fence and everything are all pretty dark. So I've kind of got a problem. So what could we do to brighten the background up and keep Janie the way she is? Well, this is where lights come in. I like the sky. I like Janie. Janie's okay. So we have over here a couple of lights. I'm not going to turn this one on yet, the studio light. We are going to come over here and turn on our SB910. I'm going to focus on Janie. Take our photograph. See what that looks like. Well, Janie's light lit up like crazy. We're not really helping too much out with our fence. So, as we're shooting in TTL, let's go to our compensation here and turn it up 2 stops. Now let's see what we got. Well, we get a little more of the fence. It's really pretty limited. So we've got to think about our photograph here. Let's shuffle Janie around a little bit. Come on, Janie, take a walk over here and let's stand in the shade. So now I get an F4. Wow, that's quite a distance away from F18. That's really a big drop. So what happens if we move this? Oh, don't lose my case here. I take this now and push this all the way to F4. Holy Moses. Well, now the background's all blown out. Janie looks wonderful. So I guess we're back to the point where we want to try some lights. And we're going to zoom this in just a little bit, because we're not trying to light the whole wall up. 50 millimeter roughly. Okay. And we'll pop our flash up here. Another interesting thing about these flashes, the window for detecting the control flash is on the other side. So occasionally, what we'll do is we'll turn the flash around. So this window is pointing towards the flash on my camera. for the Nikon CLS, and I have the little flash, built-in flash on my camera set up as a master. They do. So we know f4 was really bad. We were at f18 before. We'll go back to f18. We'll put our compensation back to 0. And we'll take Janie's picture. Now let's see what she looks like. Holy Moses. Well, now she's overexposed. In the background, looks like midnight. So I think we had a little cloud come in there. So that's probably a bit much. So what we want to do is balance that a little bit. So I wonder why Janie is so extremely blown out here. And our light back here, so crappy. And this went down to f11 from f18, so that's one reason. I should have measured that again. It's my fault. But Janie's still going to be super bright, watch. And she is. She's still super bright. But it's a much better balanced photograph than what we had before. So, how do we fix Janie? Well, we're using TTL. So the only way to fix Janie is to go in and turn our compensation down. We don't want her as bright. So we take her down like, I don't know, 1 2/3 of a stop. And there you go. Janie looks pretty good. Balanced. Standing here in the shade. But I really want a nice shallow depth of field so that what's behind Janie is all blurred out. Now, how am I going to do that? Well, walking out of frame again. I'm coming back. There's 2 ways to do that. One way is to cut down our ambient light using our shutter speed. But because we need to use flash in this particular instance, our flash only syncs up as high as 250th of a second, and we're already there. You have to go to your camera manufacturer to see what your particular sync speed is, and whether or not the manufacturer of your camera gear has a high-speed sync flash to go with your camera. They're usually always proprietary. Nikon works with Nikon. Canon works with Canon. There are a couple of third-party makers out there now. I think Yongnuo may have a couple. I don't know how well they work. I've never tried them. And there's 1 or 2 other third-party companies that do make those. We're hoping to get some studio lights in from a company called Dynalight to try and demonstrate, and they also support HSS, high-speed sync. And when they come in, that ought to be pretty interesting. So, what do we have to do? We already took our reading before, 250th of a second at ISO 100. Right? It's Janie here. Well, we're back up to F18, so whatever cloud was up there went away for the backdrop. So F18, but we want to get that down to like F2.8. So let's use our meter here, and we'll start turning our shutter speed up. Get to a 2.8. Well, I think 8,000th is our fastest, so the best we can do is a 3.2, right? So 3.2, about 1/3 of a stop. That's 2.8. Yep. So 1/8,000th of a second. Let's give that a try with our flash here, which does support high-speed sync, by the way. And that's all turned on in my camera. There we go. And there she is, 1/8,000th of a second. What's behind her here? almost gone, isn't it? So how your shutter works is you have a lower curtain and a top curtain. And when you first take a picture, it goes down, boom. That's fully open up to 250th of a second. Then what happens after that is these start to follow closer together. Comes down and then this starts to follow. Got it? Watch my hands. So you never really have a full frame open. Let's take it at 8,000th of a second. So it's really just a slit. So if your flash just goes off while that slit is falling down your frame, as it's taking a photograph, then all you wind up with is this little bar of light. You'll start to see it. And I'm sure you've done this once or twice where you're taking a picture with a flash and you'll see a black bar on the side. And then not too far past that point, the whole frame just turns black because the flash is useless. However, if we turn on high-speed sync, what happens is as that little slit goes down, your flash actually strobes. Like strobe lights back in the 60s when everybody's dancing, the strobe lights flash, and so this will go. Unfortunately, it takes a tremendous amount of power. And these little flashes have a hard time keeping up. So there are some limitations as to what high-speed sync will do for you. This is a Marumi Japanese variable ND filter, ND2 to ND400. That's about how many stops here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I would say about an 8 stop. On the top of these are a little arrow and notches. So the minimum, I think, is 2 stops. Right? And if you can see through this, and as you turn it up, it gets darker and darker until its maximum of like 9 stops. So what we want is about 5. So I'm going to put this on the front of the camera. This is a 24 to 70 2.8 lens. All right. And we'll just put that on. Here's a little trick. This is one time where your camera's meters are handy little devil, right? So we meter this sucker, right? And we're right dead in the center here at the moment. All right? At F9. Now when we put this on, again, remember, because this is relative, we don't really care whether it's 18% gray or white or black. We really don't care. We just want the relative reading, okay? So we know we want to bring this down 5 stops. So there's 2 right there, right? So if we put this down to 2.8, we just turn this sucker until that comes back to 0. And now we're at 2.8, and that's the second to last stop right there. Now if we take a photograph, and again, we have this on the same power. Go off. Yes, it did that time. And what do we have? We have a very close to the same as the last exposure, right? But with that nice soft background. And all we had to do was do the calculation. But here's the trick. Right now, that flash is on 1/16th power, 1/20th power, in that ballpark. So that thing will sit there and pop all day. I'm not going to kill my batteries. I'm not going to have power issues. If I want to meter that flash, I can, and just do the calculations. Off we go. Let me see if I can meter it here, because I'm kind of close. So let's put this on flash mode. Right there. 250th of a second, ISO 100. And let's go ahead and meter that. Guess what it says? F9, which is where we started out with. So we're perfect. So the math all works out. Pretty impressive. Well, what does that do for us? Well, if it's that easy with a neutral density filter and not worrying about high-speed sync, that means we don't have to use our itty-bitty flash. We can use Big Bertha here, right? All right, you can set up your light meter so it will actually fire your flash. Makes life really easy. So we basically want this to be an F9. Right now it's at F14, F9. We could probably bring this a little lower because we shortened our girl Jane. There we go. And there's Jane. And it's gotten a little darker in the background, but that's okay. Sun's changing. You can see that stripe. If this was a real job, I'd move that. I have my model turn maybe this way a bit, or I'd adjust the hat. And you can see you get a nice photograph there. With a nice background and a lovely blue sky. With the use of a neutral density filter, I can use any light I want. I can use a studio light. I can use a manual flash. I can go get a $70 Yongnuo. As long as I go out and buy myself a neutral density filter, it's not that bad. Save yourself a lot of cash. Though, I will tell you this. Neutral density filters come in all price ranges too. This adjustable variable one I have on here probably cost me, when I bought this, I don't know, half dozen years ago, maybe $200, $250 in that ballpark. So it's not inexpensive. However, there are certainly others on the market which are less expensive. There are also systems where you put a mount on the front of the lens and you slide a piece of glass down. And they come in all kinds of price ranges. And what you pay for there is clarity and durability. They come in glass, they come in acrylic. Always useful, always good to have. And a good way to control your shutter speed, to drive it down, and to control your exposure when you're using lights. And though I don't happen to have a running stream or a set of waterfalls out here today, you certainly use those to enhance waterfall pictures. If you want soft, foamy looking, creamy water movement, it looks great on the surf, down the shore when the waves are coming in. Neutral density filter does the same thing for you. You can filter out the light so you increase your shutter speed. In this case, we were opening up our aperture, but you can leave your aperture down, get a greater depth of field, and adjust your shutter speed so that it's open longer, and that's what gives you that blurry, soft motion. Right, Moose? You got it? Okay. Moose says fine. Again, welcome to folks that are new to the channel. Try and do things a little more like this, a little more educational, maybe not as long, and I'll try and edit this down so it's watchable, but we'll see what happens. All right, guys, thank you very much. Again, Bob Kearns, the Unsung Photographer. Please share this with your friends. Talk about it. Feel free to leave questions in the comments. I'll try and get back to them, and maybe even whip up a video for you to answer those questions. I'm always looking for ideas for content. Feel free to get hold of me. My website is williamkearns.com. That's William, KEARNS.com. You can see my portfolio there, look at some of my work, and get an idea of who you're learning from. So you all take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time.
Shall we begin?